Hey, it's Michael J, and this new development behind me used to be the site of the Sacramento Inn Cinemas. This is the place where I went to my very first indoor movie when I was 5 years old. It was Mary Poppins. And it got me to thinking I should make a video about my top 10 films that were most influential when I was growing up.
I did go to the movies at drive-ins before seeing my first indoor movie at the Sacramento Inn, but I remember that first trip to an indoor theater at age 5 very clearly. Mary Poppins is a long film, but I was riveted, while my younger brother was squirrely and spent half the movie out in the lobby with my dad. The magic of that movie fascinated me, and I was obsessed with it for at least a year. In the first grade, I wrote a little story about wanting to be a chimney sweep when I grew up.
Mary Poppins, dipping time!
I guess I thought they really did musical numbers on rooftops. This movie caused me to want to watch the Dick Van Dyke Show reruns on TV and anything with Julie Andrews, so of course, the Sound of Music showings on TV became of interest. I'm not sure how old I was when I first saw The Wizard of Oz, but its annual showing on TV was always an anticipated event. I didn't see it in a theater until I was an adult, but I count this film as a formative and inspiring one. I think that this movie, along with Mary Poppins, began my interest in musicals, but also fueled a natural imagination and creativity that I possessed.
I'll get you, my pretty, and your little dog, too.
Walt Disney's Peter Pan was my first introduction to that character. I had no idea at age 7 that there was a play or a stage musical of the story. Also, it was around this time I made my first visit to Disneyland, and the Peter Pan ride was a top favorite. The idea of a boy flying and having adventures, and that kind of independence from the adult world was so appealing. The next Halloween, I had to go as Peter Pan. I first saw this film at the Sunrise Mall Cineplex, where we saw a lot of movies growing up. My brother and I would be dropped off at the movies while my parents went shopping through the mall.
Come on, everybody, here we go! Up to Neverland!
Think of a wonderful thought, any merry little thought. Think of...
I think I was about 9 years old when I first saw King Kong on TV. Any film with stop-motion animation monsters, like Sinbad, Jason and the Argonauts, were favorites, but King Kong was the best. I still love it.
Lights on Broadway. Kong, the eighth wonder of the world!
I just saw it on the big screen at Grauman's Chinese Theater last month. Again, the fantasy and technical achievement of these films were fueling me. I even made my own Super 8 movie version of King Kong with my friends when I was 15. I think it's odd that I took to Showboat so strongly at such a young age. I might have been 10 or 11 when I first saw it, and something about a theater company on a boat traveling up and down the river to put on shows was really fascinating to me. By this time, I was very involved in a children's theater group, so theater was my passion, and I think that the floating theater idea just tied into that. But I gained an appreciation for the score and the socio-political message of the story. To this day, I love a production of Showboat. It's rare to see it because it's so difficult to produce, but I think I've seen it live about 6 times. I must have seen Singin' in the Rain before I was 12, at first on TV, but as an adult, multiple times on the big screen. This movie made me want to take tap dancing. If I had heard of a place where I could have taken a tap class growing up, I would have, but as it turned out, I didn't have a place to take tap until I was 17. Actually, seeing the live musical 42nd Street really lit a fire to get me to take tap, but the desire was always there from Singin' in the Rain. Aside from that, it's just a great movie all the way around. I'm a theater teacher now and find that most of my students haven't seen this movie, so I usually show it once a year. We also did a production of the stage version, which came off really well.
Good morning.
Good morning. We've talked the whole night through.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning. It's great to stay up late.
Good morning.
Good morning
To you.
When I hear that happy beat, feel like dancing down the street to that Broadway rhythm, driving, beating rhythm.
Luke Skywalker was just a farm boy until he received a mysterious message from a princess.
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. She's beautiful.
Star Wars, starring
Any
Mark
kid
Hamill.
growing up in the 1970s must have Star Wars in their top 10 list. How could you not? There was nothing like it at the time. It was truly amazing. My family saw it at the Century Cinedomes in Sacramento. That's where you went to see all the big blockbusters. Sadly, those domes were demolished a few years ago and a big box Cineplex replaced it. I didn't care about sci-fi movies before Star Wars, but frankly, they weren't in abundance. Star Wars changed everything. I know that Jaws is the film that changed the game for the Hollywood summer movie blockbuster, but Star Wars confirmed the phenomenon and changed a lot about how movies were made and marketed.
May the Force be with you in Star Wars.
I was obsessed by Superman. Another fantasy film. Clearly, there is a trend here, but completely natural for a kid. The only live-action superhero depictions were on TV, and the special effects were bad. That this comic book hero was taken seriously and had astonishing special effects was game-changing.
One thing I do know, son, and that is you are here for a reason.
Easy, miss. I've got you.
You've got me. Who's got you?
I made my own animated version on Super 8 film. You know I was obsessed with something when I had to make my own film of it. And this is all before video rentals, so you had to see it at the movie theater or else you waited a year for a TV showing interrupted by commercials. Usually, my hometown Empire Theater showed movies late or second run, but Superman was shown locally rather quickly, so we didn't have to drive down to Sacramento to see it.
Who are you?
A friend.
You are revealed to the world, but you still must keep your secret identity.
Why?
Your enemies will discover their only way to hurt you by hurting the people you care for.
Mind over muscle.
They can be a great people, Kal-El. They wish to be. They only lack the light to show the way. For this reason, above all, I have sent them you, my only son.
I saw Raiders of the Lost Ark at the Cinedome. My brother really became obsessed with this movie, but I loved it as well. By this time, we both understood the 1930s and 1940s movie serials from watching a PBS show called Matinee at the Bijou, where they showed a cartoon, a short film, and a serial before the feature. We loved a serial called Lost City of the Jungle, and it was clear to us that Raiders was inspired by this. I was 13, and I wonder how many 13-year-olds know anything about 1940s movie serials today. In the days of only having 3 network channels, PBS, and a few ultra-high frequency local channels, there wasn't that much to watch on TV, so you stopped to watch old movies and learn the history of classic film by accident.
Snakes. Why did it have to be snakes? I'm going after that truck. Oh, I don't know. I'm making this up as I go. Trust me.
Plane to Lisbon. Would like to be on it.
Why? What's in Lisbon?
Good Clipper to America.
I know I knew what Casablanca was by the time I was 12, because when I was 13 and visiting Hollywood for the first time, I chose to purchase a movie poster of Casablanca from a memorabilia store at the Hollywood Farmers Market. Why this movie appealed to me at age 12, I really can't say. It's the one non-fantasy film that rounds out this list, but I think I connected with the characters. They were clever and had funny dialogue, balanced with the serious aspect of the story, and I remember liking the look of the film. I was intrigued by Rick's Americana as a bar with live entertainment going on. The whole thing was very appealing to me, and I have no idea why that would be. But the attraction to classic films of all kinds stems from this combination of King Kong, Showboat, The Wizard of Oz, and Casablanca. My interest in Walt Disney's career starts with Mary Poppins and Peter Pan. If you ask me now for a top 10 list, I can't do it, because I'm always leaving out so many great favorites, and guess what? I get to have a top 100 if I want it. So what's the point of a top 10? But these 10 films are the ones that really affected me growing up. I've seen them so many times now that I probably don't need to ever see them again, but I probably will.
Is looking at you, kid.
America was standing in bread lines. Dillinger was stealing all the headlines. But down at the Bijou, people said lines like boop boop be doop, boop boop be doop. Through the Dust Bowl, the black winds were wailing. The rivers were rising, Ohio was bailing, but little Shirley Temple always had clear sailing on board the good ship Lollipop.